I suppose this video is about wrong place, wrong time. We went to an incident, I want to say about 15 years ago now, and it was one of my first fails. That was a massive traumatic for me. They were two lads in a 4x4, I think it was like a Daihatsu 4-track, and they were going, you know, we've got a lurcher in, it's rabbiting. They call it rabbiting or whatever. Basically, they have a lurch, but they go do something. And I thought it was called dogging before, but I know what dogging's about now.
Like ratting?
Yeah, that's it. Yes, that sort of thing with dog. And dog goes. Yeah. So they always used to have an air rifle in and have this lurcher in, and they've got to a Silsden stroke Keighley bypass, and cars obviously juttering, and they've gone down the bypass. They've got about 300 metres down bypass, and cars just literally started smoking really heavy there. So they've stopped, got out. There's one lad round the driver's side of the car, and there's one lad literally walked to the back of a car, and just as he walks back to a car, transit van's coming down at 70 miles an hour in slow lane, so to speak. Due to it being an unlit bit of road and being night time, no vision at all. And the black smoke then is obscuring the vehicle at the side of the road, and they've not got any hazards on. So literally you can't see anything till you're on it. So the lad's been at the back of the Daihatsu, and one at the passenger side, driver's side. Literally bang. That was it. That's all it takes, 2 seconds. Van driver's life's destroyed, and these two lads are killed instantly. So we received this call. There's an RTC on bypass believed to be fatal. So we're on his way, beat car directly behind us. As we turn on the bypass, beat car pulls across, we block it all off, and then when we get there, we pull up at the side of the road and get out. And I've never seen a body look like a piece of plasticine before. Proper doll or mannequin, or however you want to call it, for not to be real. Note left at Daihatsu 4-track. It's literally from the driver's seat forward, that's all that's left. All the back of it's completely destroyed. The transit van's 50 metres up the road. Transit van front's destroyed. On the front of the transit van is half of one person. The other person is thrown 100 metres up the road, who's completely not there. There's nothing really left of him. And the lad at the back, who's been trapped between the transit and the Daihatsu 4-track, he's completely ripped into bits. And when we've arrived at the scene, he's laid on the floor, and the dogs are licking all the brain matter off the floor from him. It was completely and utterly bizarre, because I've seen dead bodies before, I've seen fatal incidents before, but when you know it's happened through trauma, there's a difference. I think that's the word I'm looking for, the trauma. Now, these have all got to stick with you, wherever you go in life and whatever you do, these have all got to stick with you, all these images of what you're going through. We deal with the scene, lock it all off, and we deal with the scene how we normally do. And I suppose the hardest part were at end then, when we had to start getting our vehicles forensically recovered. And then what you do is we ask for mortuary technicians to come out. And I never really understood it at the time until my partner said to me, this is mortuary technicians come, and they laid a big piece of visqueen out on the floor, a big piece of like plastic. The lad that were laid at the back, his leg were above his head, if that makes sense, ripped off and above his head. So we had to pick him up in stages, different parts of him up, and put him on this body bag, all this visqueen. I remember him saying to her, do you think we've got him all? And he was like, fucking hell, we've got him all. So we had to go scouting all bits of grass, and we had to go scouting all bits of road with torches, looking for bits of flesh, bits of ear, bits of arm, fingers. You have to lift the leg up on its own, put the leg in the bag. And this is someone's loved one, this is someone's son, this is someone's family member. It's just a bizarre thing to do in life. Zipped him up, same with a lad, peeled a lot of him off front of this van, and vehicle got recovered. And it never really bothered me. It never really bothered me till about 3 weeks later, and I knew I wasn't sleeping. I knew I had massive issues because I wasn't sleeping, and Phil came into office. And he says, you all right? I says, no. I says, I ain't slept in like 3 days. Every time I go to bed, I says, I can just hear noise of metal bending. I can just see these people. So I had to go have a little bit of therapy then. I think it was basically, they just said, it's all right because you're just not used to seeing this trauma. I didn't let that affect me as much then, as about 3 weeks later, it was so bizarre, we went to another RTC, which is near the Porsche one, And it was a young girl who was about 22-year-old, who had an epileptic fit behind the wheel of a car, and she went head on into a Volvo. Now the car itself crushed itself, and she was still in the driver's side when she got there, but she'd been killed with trauma. I think I have a massive thing now for having to deal with the fact of people in pain, and I think that's what's led to a lot of my illness, of dealing with those people. If someone dies out of a sudden death or dies of natural causes, that's different. But I think a lot of things that I've been carrying around with my rucksack are the trauma issues. I never really understood how hard it was to deal with things until I realised that talking about it made me feel better about myself. Is that the right way to put stuff? It's hard talking about this, do you know what I mean? I try to be a good person. I try to do the job to the best of my abilities. But half of these things have affected me massively, and I don't know how to process the information. And I think the worst time came when, just before I ended my career, we had to go to a man who committed suicide on the train line. And he was a big black male, I think about best part of 25 stone, and he jumped in front of a train. So they asked me to go and fingerprint this gentleman. We had fingerprint devices. So I got to the scene and BTP were there. They said, right, he's up the train track, go to where his officer and fingerprint him. And again, when I got there, I didn't realise how much trauma were involved in someone being hit by a train. It's not something that you get hit by a train, you bang your head and you're gone. You're mutilated beyond repair, beyond repair. And I couldn't differentiate what was in no disrespect, either a layer of fat or a finger. I couldn't differentiate what was hand, foot, or a mouth. I couldn't differentiate what was head or something. It was just, there was a flat piece of flesh on the floor. That's when I realised inside that I don't want any more trauma. I don't want any more trauma in my life. And I'm not going to walk away from it. So if I saw something on the road happen now, I'd help. But I struggle to deal with stuff. And I think the way I deal with stuff now is talking like I'm talking to you and giving it out. But for everyone that's going to experience these sort of things in police, you're going to know that they're there and you're going to have to deal with them regardless. That specialist training, I think when there's something like a train crash or a plane crash, and you've got to go through the amount of bodies, the amount of evidence, the amount of luggage and things like that, to be able to put people back together like a jigsaw, if that makes sense. And there are special teams for things like that. But for your day-to-day trauma RTCs, people being knocked off motorbikes, jumping off buildings, no, that's it. You've got to attend. So all these bobbies that are just coming through into the service now and wanting to know what it's like, that's what it's like. And then when you go on a night, you've got to sit and you've got to deal with it.
In what way do you feel like that's been able to help you?
I personally think talking now releases so many demons. There's got to be a point in your life when you think that I can't cope anymore with what I've got in my cup, and the only way I can get my cup empty is by talking and expressing these thoughts and these feelings and telling you where it's gone wrong and whatever. All these people that sit there and say, I can just bottle stuff up, the line, it's crap. And all these people say, well, why can't you deal with this? I can cope with trauma, why can't you? Well, you can't. No person is designed to see that sort of things to another human being. It's not meant to be. We're not great white sharks hunting a seal. We are human beings. We care, we love, we show nurture, we're companions, we look after each other, we cuddle, we do it all. So when you're seeing that level of pain happen and thrust upon a normal human being, it takes little bits out of you. So like as you were saying, the things that I can do now to replace that is to be able to talk and to let all these people know that they're coming through ranks and that what they're doing is they're going to be seeing these sort of things. Rather than seeing it and putting it inside, you put it inside and you speak. You don't black out in the pub. We do Friday night. We went out to the pub with mates, talked about this dead body. But you sit there and you talk to your friends, you talk to your family, you talk to loved ones. And talking is the way how you get things out.
What sort of advice could you give to people who are maybe bottling something up?
The first thing that people need to do is put their hand up and acknowledge they've got an issue. If you don't put your hand up and acknowledge, how can you move forward and fix things if you're not acknowledging the fact that there's something wrong with you in the first place? That thing there is always going to be in you, so you can hide it as much as you want, but hiding it's not going to get you anywhere. You can hide it, cover it with medication and lie, cover it with beer, cover it with drugs, cover it with whatever you want. It's not going to go away. It's like these people that are abused when they're younger and stuff, they've got to put things to bed. You've got to have it dealt with and put things to bed. The first thing is putting your hand up and knowing, and once you put your hand up and knowing, that's the main issue. You've got over that bit there. So you've already said, look, there's something wrong. And then the rest of it is asking for help. And that help can come in all different shapes and sizes. It can come from therapy. It can come from seeing your doctor. But my therapy now is this. My therapy is talking to the camera. My therapy is talking to members of the public that I've never seen, I might never see. But this now is releasing all my demons. This is giving me that clean slate. So I never talked about stuff before. And then to me now, this is what I'm giving back. And I just basically, so rather than going out of here now and feeling unhappy, I go out of here and feel like I've lifted something off my shoulders, and it makes me feel better.
We've launched the Pearson channel. If you want to help out, please see the link below. Thank you.